The summer of 2003. I was 13 years old. Get Rich or Die Trying was the hardest album in the streets. All the girls were doing that Beyonce uh-oh dance. And most importantly, I had just graduated 8th grade and I was ready for high school. I'll never forget that I attended a party that summer and I was with a bunch of my friends. And there was a girl that I liked there too. Now, depending on when you were born, you may or may not remember that the boy group B2K dropped one of the hottest movies of that year. It was a movie called You Got Served. And You Got Served is just a movie about a bunch of black kids who knew how to dance and they had fun doing it. Now, you can imagine that at every party that summer, somebody was trying to do some type of move or dance from the whole You Got Served movie. And of course, that kind of happened to me. You see, at this party I attended with all of my friends, there was this one kid who could really dance. And I kind of told everybody that I could dance too. Now, I don't know when it happened or how, but before I knew it, everybody just started to make this circle, and me and this kid were in the middle of it. And I'm pretty sure a dance battle was about to go down. Now, to save you guys all the embarrassing details, the truth is, this guy kind of demolished me. I mean, I had watched the movie enough to think that I knew how to beat someone if I did wind up in a dance battle, but this was really embarrassing. It was really clear I had lost. The most embarrassing part about that day was the walk home from the party. I mean, I was with all of my friends and the girl that I had a crush on was there, and I'll never forget the way she looked at me and said, "I thought you said you could dance." Now, that's a super embarrassing story, and quite honestly, I could kind of laugh at it now, but there was a real life lesson in that story, and the lesson was this: it doesn't really matter what you say you are. People only care about what you actually do. Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Greg, back with another episode of All Black Everything. I can't believe you guys keep tuning in. Honestly, it means the most to me. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. You probably don't know that you like it yet. So when you get to the end, if you like it, hit that like button for me. If you got something that you want to say, a comment, a question, or you just want to chat, hit that comment section. Don't be shy. And last but not least, make sure that you subscribe so you know every time I drop a video and you don't miss out. Now, today we're going to be talking about something that's become really popular right now. It's a conversation about black people and their relationship to the American church. Now, you're probably thinking, really, Greg? You're telling me Christianity is racist too? Well, America's version of it, yes, because think of America as a lunchbox. And in it, you've got life, liberty, guns, and Christianity. And then when you throw a little bit of racism inside of there and racism spills over and gets on everything, then it's all over the place, including the religion. You see, the first time black people in America really had an encounter with Christianity was when they were slaves. Now, I know it sounds kind of weird, but the Bible was actually used as a tool of manipulation to convince black people that it was God's will for them to be slaves to white people in America. Most specifically in America, white slave owners commonly use scriptures like Ephesians chapter 6 verse 5 to justify why they were treating black people the way that they did. And part of that chapter just talked about how slaves should honor their masters because it was the way that they honored God. It was even more common for slave owners to read scriptures like that to slaves as they whipped them for doing things like rebelling or running away. Now, slavery was abolished on paper in America in the year 1865, and eventually it became legal for black people to read. You could imagine the surprise and shock as black people began to read and interpret the Bible and realize that the scriptures that were used to keep them in bondage was actually being used outside of the context it was written in. Here's why that's important. For about 246 years, black people's association to the Bible and Christianity was that slavery and abuse and murder was God's will for their lives. As you can imagine, that caused a lot of psychological damage. And not just for black people then, but it kind of trickled down to generations now. The sad truth is, black people have had an ugly and abusive relationship with Christianity in America. But slaves back then were taught that there was a silver lining. See, they were told by their masters that the God who wanted evil and calamity for their lives also wanted them to have a safe and cool place for them to go to every Sunday: church. Now, sarcasm aside, church was a place for black slaves in America to feel a source of comfort and safety. It was a place where they could sing and dance and mourn and laugh in the way that they did in a land that was more familiar to them. It was a place for food and ideas and even a little bit of freedom in an era where everything else about their lives was outlawed. Now, don't worry, eventually as time passed and black people were afforded more liberties, they began to learn about the true nature of God. that he's loving and kind. And even though his message is a message of goodness, sometimes that very message is used as a weapon of manipulation. In modern day America, that's still true. What you'll find is that saying you're a Christian is more important than actually acting like a Christian. For example, in the name of Christianity, our political leaders often defend kids in American wombs, but not kids in American cages. I mean, shameless plug, but if you haven't actually read the Bible, maybe you should give it a skim. You'll find some interesting things out about God. Things like he's literally the most powerful being in existence. And in terms of kindness, you'll see that his tendency is to free people and heal people and feed people and give them refuge. Now, when you take his power and his kindness and put it together, you get Jesus on the cross, arguably one of the most sacrificial acts known to man. And it was done so that all people could have eternal life in heaven. The final move to show God's creation that he loved them once and forever, and that what he did could not be undone. Here's why that's important. It's almost like there's this fear that the passing of certain laws will undo what Jesus did on the cross or reverse salvation. Which says a lot about God if he can do an all-powerful thing like save the entire universe, and then you voting for the wrong person can undo it. That's because it's not true. In fact, Jesus once had a man ask him what he thought about paying taxes. And Jesus told him, hey man, just give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. AKA, ain't nobody got time for that. Jesus was basically saying, hey man, earthly leadership should have nothing to do with what I'm telling you to do right now, which is to love your neighbor like yourself and love God. Now here's how all of this relates to black people. Christianity in America is really starting to look like a club with a whole bunch of made up rules that Jesus never said but are apparently really important. And the more we look at this club, it kind of looks like it was built to fit a certain type of American that votes a certain type of way and acts in a way that doesn't really include the experiences of black people. This American Christianity is not neighborly or kind. It's boastful about the awesome things it's doing while turning a blind eye to opportunities that give safety and refuge. And as it pertains to black people, it's still a tool that says, don't protest about what's humane. Simply take what you're getting and believe that it's from God. Now, I'm not a prophet, nor do I claim to know the future, but what I do know is that if America continues to pump this whitewashed, Republican-like version of Christianity, black people and their families will begin to realize how much they don't belong. At the very foundation of this country, a very terrible thing happened to black people. They were robbed of life and of liberty, and American Christianity was there to watch the whole thing and did nothing. I guess what I'm getting at is black people aren't going to leave Christianity, but we are becoming more and more aware of the truth about the Bible. And honestly, we don't want America's racist version of it anymore. My name is Greg, and this has been another episode of All Black Everything. Peace.